Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kerry with How Do We Get There podcast, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Harold Gravely. Normally, I would have my beautiful wife with me today, so I guess Mr. Harold is going to have to do on the day.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to do the best I can.
You're trying to do it. We appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and to conversate with us on How Do We Get There podcast. Before we get started, I want to tell everyone out there, please go subscribe to our channel, How Do We Get There podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe. We need you all to hit that subscribe button so we can start doing some more things. But right now, we're going to get right into it. Mr. Harold Gravely.
All right, very good. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here on today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, hey man, it's been a pleasure. I ever since the day that we've met years ago, many years ago. But when we was here at the Tad Space here, we're shooting in the TadCast studio. Was it about 2 months ago?
2 months ago, yes, sir.
2 months ago, we met here at the the Minority Business Consortium.
Yes, sir.
Well, my pastor, Dr. Charles Whitfield, is the head of, and I think you're
Well, I'm one of the members. I'm on the board. I am.
You're one of the members, and we talked. We sat at the same table, and we conversated. And I was like, "Hey, I got to get you on. I got to get you on the podcast." And you said, "Great. You just let me know, and I'll be there." And so I talked to you last week. I was hoping we was gonna be able to do it last week, but Gabby had a basketball tournament last week, so that kind of moved everything else around. But today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day, and I'm excited about the information that we're going to discuss on today.
Thank you.
Tell me, who is Harold Gravely?
Born and raised in Marshall, Henry County. Grew up in Leatherwood. If anybody knows what Leatherwood is, so that's a small town. Nothing special. Just grew up here. Just love where I live. Life's going well for me. I'm at an age now. I'm more relaxed now than I was in the past. Put it that way.
So how old are you, Mr. Gravely?
65.
65.
I'm 65.
You don't look 65.
Thank you. That would make me feel good today.
You don't look 65.
I turned 65 in December. So
okay. So you have any siblings?
I do. Well, matter of fact, there were 6 kids in our family. My mom and dad, Harold and Olivia Gravely, worked in Leatherwood.
All right.
So I had 4 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay.
And one of my sisters passed away, but it's actually 6 of us.
Okay.
Raised in a small house, which was called Round the Ridge at the time, which is Elijah Circle with 1 bathroom.
Okay.
Picture 8 people in a house with 1 bathroom.
Elijah
Circle.
I'm familiar with that road. Matter of fact, a few years ago, I pressure washed the house over there on Elijah Circle.
Okay.
Now, tell me, Mr. Gravely, today, the last time we talked, I asked you, Mr. Gravely, I've known you, I've seen you around for many years. You started doing what after high school?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I started off, I came out of high school, was not smart enough to actually attend college.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I was not. I was one of those bad students. I actually went to PH for a semester and dropped out.
Okay.
Just became a regular worker.
Okay.
And I did that for a period of time. I worked at Bass and Walker. Was a period of time. But in the meantime, I found martial arts.
Okay.
And I actually started training in martial arts and fell in love with it.
Okay.
And once I earned my black belt, I opened up a martial arts school. So I ran a martial arts school for about 30 years here locally.
Okay, 30 years. Now, my daughter Gabby, one of her favorite shows is The Proud Family.
Okay.
Okay, and on The Proud Family, there's a gentleman on the cartoon, Jack Stone. Jack Stone's character was based on Jim Kelly.
Okay.
See, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So I know some things,
Very
you know what I'm
good.
saying? When you say, martial arts, as a kid growing up, Jim Kelly was,
the man.
was the man. You know what I'm saying? So was Jim Kelly an influence of yours?
Well, I'm sure it was. Jim Kelly, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, all those guys. And I watched all of them. I loved it. Kung Fu Theater coming up on Sundays. I watched all that. I grew up on those things. So,
Okay.
I fell in love with martial arts because of those things.
Okay. Because of those things. See, Kathy, I told you. You know what I'm saying? I told you. You know what I'm saying? Jack Stone. You know what I'm saying? Fist
The
of
other
Fury.
one. The other one.
Then you know what I'm saying? They had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You remember he was on
He was on a Bruce Lee movie.
Bruce Lee movie.
He sure was.
Bruce Lee, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Uh-huh.
and what's his name again? What we just
Yeah, show enough.
showed up. See, you know what I'm saying? Gabby's she's like me. We watch a lot of movies.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? So we watch things like that. She's like, but Dad, why did? So
My kids, we sit around and watch stuff like that all the time. That's the we love martial arts movies. That's basically what we watch all the time.
okay. See, Gabby, so you understand now. You know, Wu-Tang.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Part of, So, man, that's great. You see how you think about it and you go back to influences in your life. And so you started your own, what is that called, a dojo?
Well, the Korean word is dojang, but if you're talking about
Dojang.
Japanese karate, it's called a dojo. But if you're doing Korean martial arts, it's a dojang.
So is that what? So,
I did Korean martial arts. I did a Korean art. Sure did. I did Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Mhm.
Okay. So you had that for 30 years.
I actually probably was involved over 30 years. I think I was 22 when I first started taking martial arts.
Okay.
First started training in it. And then after that, once I earned my black belt, I continued to train, but then I opened my own martial arts school and basically fell in love with it. That's basically all I did. I basically supported my family through martial arts for quite a few years.
Wow. So what was the draw to martial arts? What, you know what I'm saying? What was, because you is there a mindset principle or is there, tell me.
Well, I guess I always loved physical things. Before I actually did martial arts, I was baseball. I loved the baseball. So matter of fact, in Leatherwood we had a baseball team, the Leatherwood Mets.
Okay.
And I played when I was like 16 years old, playing with adult men, on a baseball team. But once baseball ran out, after a certain age, then I had to find something else to do. And I stumbled into the local Martinsville YMCA and I watched the class and fell in love with it. And I think I watched the class on Tuesday, came back on Thursday and signed up, and that was it.
That was it.
That was it. I was hooked.
So what gave you the idea to open up your own?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a long story. A lot of things happened by coincidence, I think, anyway. So after I earned my black belt, I'll continue to train with my instructor. My instructor was Mr. Lewis Wilson, which came out of Danville, but he actually came to the Martinsville to teach. He was my instructor, trained with him for years and loved it. Excellent instructor. And there was a gym on Fayette Street, Francesca's Gym.
Yeah, I remember that.
She wanted to open up a martial arts school. She contacted me somehow and asked me to come up. I did a demonstration on a Saturday by myself. I think 10 people signed up and started doing the class. So I actually taught class at Francesca's Gym for a period of time.
Okay.
Then at the time, after that, professional boxers were here in town in the Holiday Shopping Center. Oliver McCall was one of them there,
Okay.
Brett Cooper and some of them.
Okay.
So the gentleman running the boxing gym encouraged me to come teach my martial arts class at that boxing gym, and I did. And it was going well. Then for whatever reason, the boxing gym was going to close down.
Okay.
So when it closed down, I had probably 20 students at the time. So it forced me to find a place to open up my own school, and that's how I actually started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can remember the champ, Oliver McCall.
Yeah, that's it.
So this was up here in
Holiday Shopping Center. That's where they were at the time.
okay,
In
right up here in town.
Mhm.
Now, you remember they moved the gym over here to in town in Martinsville
Sure
in the old bargain center.
Yep, sure did. But they did. Now, when I was with them, they were in the Holiday Shopping Center in Collinsville.
All right.
That's the time I met them when they were training there. So,
Okay.
it went well. I enjoyed being around those professional boxers.
Okay. So it brought something else out of you then, didn't
It did. I mean, I've always loved physical things. I guess I knew that I couldn't sit down and do a job. I wouldn't cut out for it. I knew it. So
it? You couldn't sit inside no building.
couldn't
That
do
way-
it.
that
I
won't
knew I
be-
couldn't do it. I had to be moving. And martial arts was that perfect thing for me. And I got to the point that I set my own schedule. I tell people I got my college degree through martial arts. And what I mean by that, martial arts opened up a lot of doors for me. I actually
Okay.
taught classic PH for probably 10 years. Now, like I said, I attended PH for a semester out of high school, but then I came back as an adjunct instructor there for probably 10 years.
And what did you teach there?
I taught a self-defense class, self-defense classes, and fitness classes. So, and I loved it. I set my own schedule pretty much, and it went well. I enjoyed it. I was always around young people. I love
Keep you young.
it. I believe it did. I really do. I
Wow.
really do.
You went there for a semester.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right out of high school.
Right out of high school. You figured out that you won't cut out for it. All right. You figured that
I figured
out.
out pretty quick.
You figured out pretty quick you won't cut out for it. But then they invite you back to teach their students.
Sure did. Like I said, I loved it. I really did. So I guess martial arts just opened up a lot of doors for me. And it got to the point I had a program through the Henry County Parks and Recreation. I'd go to every elementary school in the county teaching my martial arts class. So I was at 8 schools 5 days a week teaching martial arts class, actually at the school, after school hours at schools. I loved it. So I got to travel everywhere I wanted through martial arts.
Wow. It just, finding, I was listening to, who was I listening to today? Damon Dash. And I was listening to him on a podcast, and he was talking about finding something that you really love to do. And you never really work a day in your life.
Exactly. It's true. It's so true. I mean, that's how I felt, Even though if you asked me when I was doing martial arts class, like I taught class 6 days a week. I had a school building I rented in Collinsville that I taught a class. I had another one in Stewart that I taught. Plus I had all these elementary schools I was going to every week. So I was 6 days a week, I was somewhere. So if you ask me where I was going to be during the week, what time, I can tell you because I had that many obligations, to do. But I loved it though. At the time, I didn't mind. I loved it.
So, your love in martial arts and learning how to do that, tell me how that later translated into real estate.
Very good. Excellent question. Martial arts is the thing that gives you which I tell you, but gave me the confidence to do everything else I did. So so martial arts, what I say, that's my foundation. So you have confidence to meet people and all these different things.
Back up right there. I don't mean to cut you
Okay,
off.
go ahead.
You said something big right there. Confidence. The martial arts gave you the confidence because, in a sense, everything is off of belief.
Yes, sir.
Belief in self.
Yes, sir.
Me and Gabby was listening to Secret to Success podcast before we came in here with Eric Thomas and CJ, and you believing in you, having confidence in Harold is one of the biggest things you could ever do.
No doubt about it. I totally believe that. So whatever we do, it first starts with confidence. You take a person that say they want to do whatever. If they don't believe they can do it, they won't. But that person that's deep down say, I know I can do this thing and I'm determined to do it, you'll find a way. It might not be easy, but you'll find a way.
Mr. Gravely, then you know as well as I know. If it's easy, it ain't worth doing.
There you go. There you go. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? It's not worth. If it's easy to do, then it's easy to quit. That's one thing I'm learning. With this podcasting thing, this hasn't been easy for me. It hasn't been easy for my wife and for Gabby, but I feel like it's bigger than me.
Yes, sir.
I feel like if I quit, I've let a lot of people down.
Yeah.
Not just me.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? I've let Gabby down. I've let my wife down. I've let my nephew down. Because I believe when you go start doing something, give it everything you got.
There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now go back to your confidence thing. Go back.
Well, I mean, everything starts with that. But then, I'll go back again, coming out of high school. You talk to any person right out of high school, they got all these things they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at that same person 2 to 3 years later and watch most of them. they let whatever life beat them down, and they, it just didn't do what they said they were going to do. So I'm going back to me again. I realized how much I did not know when I came out of high school. I really did. So you think you come out think you know all these things, but I figured out what I did not know. All right. But I stumbled into the local Martinsville library, and I found what they call the self-help area. And once I found that, it was all these books and tapes and information that was available to me for free that I started listening to and reading, and it changed my whole way of thinking. So I thought like everybody in Leatherwood at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I grew up at. So you think like the people you're around. There's nothing wrong with that. Great people, and my family, you love them. But I knew that if to do anything different, you have to be around people that are thinking different and acting different. So those books and tapes were the thing that led me to being around and thinking like other people.
Okay. So you started going to the library.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I live there.
So we get to the library. Tell me the first book that you read.
I guess the one that sticks out in my mind the most is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That one, I guess, it's talked about so many different things. The first thing it talks about, the first thing before you do anything is desire. Having a burning desire. That's one thing. If you have that burning desire, it leads to everything else. So that's the first thing that sticks out, having that burning desire. So once you get that, then you're on the way to doing anything you want to do. So that sticks out first.
Okay.
So once I got that, then it kind of lead to other things. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, everybody talks about that. I mean, that definitely changed my whole, that was later on. That was one of the ones I got into later on. But just Think and Grow Rich was one of them. I think who else? Earl Nightingale. I remember as a child, Olam.
Right.
As a kid, Earl Nightingale was on the radio in the morning on WMVA radio station every morning before we went to school. So when we get up going to school in the morning when the bus came, this guy would be on the radio, Earl Nightingale. So now I listen to him, and what he says makes total sense now. At the time, I hear this strange sounding voice, man speaking. But now I listen to him, and everything he says makes sense. So,
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that WNBA they played Earl Nightingale.
Earl Nightingale.
I realized I started learning about Earl Nightingale when I started investing in my own personal development.
Mm-hmm.
When I started reading books by Jim Rohn.
Oh, yes, indeed.
When I started, like I said, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Man, I can think now, reading these books today, I was in, my former job, I was in management, and I would push for the management to, hey, invest in just these books for the people.
Let me cut this off. I wasn't thinking. I apologize.
Invest in these books for the people. That, because when you're in trucking, all you have is your influence with the drivers. And in learning how to influence people, I take it as, one of his biggest principles in the book is listening to other people.
Let me turn this off. Just give me just a second.
Are you okay?
Let me get this thing off so we don't happen again.
Listening to other people, understanding what their needs are.
Yes, sir.
And being able to communicate that back to them. Letting them know how important their needs are.
Yes, sir.
Changes the dynamic of everything.
So you got that from what? Thank you for
How to Win
Friends and Influence People.
And influence
So
people.
Dale Carnegie. Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
That right there, learning influence,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not meaning influence to lord it over someone. That's about influence to have a human connection.
Yes, sir.
Having a human connection changes the dynamic of all conversations.
Yes, sir. Well, I think to be successful in any business, if you're going to be self-employed, you have to have influence. You have to be able to influence people. And that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is the one that most people need. You take anybody that's running a business, if they can't get along with their employees, then they're not going to be successful. So how to win friends and influence people teach you all those things.
Mm-hmm. I mean I made sure it's in my library.
Mm-hmm.
I try to go through that book every year.
Very good.
It's really one book that I try to go back through and read every single year, because in actuality, that's all you really have.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Is influencing people. If I didn't know how to conversate, I would have never came up to Mr. Harold Gravely and asked Mr. Harold Gravely to come on my podcast.
Well, I try to be easy to talk to, so you are easy to talk to, and I enjoy it. So that makes a difference. It really does. Going back to books, Jim Rohn said something that night. I was way. He said every young person should set a goal to be financially independent before age 30. And I was well over 30 when I heard that. He
well
said
over
every
30.
young person should set a goal to be financially independent before age 30. And his next statement said, then you spend the rest of your life being yourself. So sit back and think about that, So that's why, man, going back to everything I do kind of leads back to that. I talk about money a lot, and people wonder, so why do you talk so much about money? Get to the point that you don't need money anymore. I guarantee you become better at everything else you do. I don't care if a person is a teacher, if they're worried about money during the day, they're not going to be a good teacher.
Because their underlying need has not been met.
Exactly.
And they're only, what the decisions that they make are going to boil down to their number one need.
Exactly.
Which is money.
So you solve that one problem, and the rest of your problems tend to go away. Now, not everything. I mean, it doesn't control everything, but it takes a lot of that pressure off of you. You get another example. You say you're in surgery and you're with a doctor. And he's worried about his car must be out there after the surgery. You think he can do a good job on you?
You know what Mr. Graham
So if he's worried about it, but once he solves that money problem, I guarantee he's a better doctor. I guarantee you.
You know what I'm saying? I'd be willing to put something on that too, Mr. Graham. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't have that thought anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about it, the public school system doesn't teach kids about that.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? It's, but again, I don't know if you ever read this book, but it's by, what's his name? Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
Outwitting the Devil.
Oh yeah, that's one of his first books I read.
Yeah, but they just put it out because they knew if he put it out back then, it would have so much backlash because of that book. But that book, me and Gabby listened to that book on Audible, and you talk it, that's one of the greatest books I've ever listened to or read, because it speaks to public education. It teaches it talks to education and how they get us off path.
Yes, sir.
Because they don't give us the tools that we really need, or put it like this, they give us the tools that they want us to have. Would that be the correct way to say it?
Well, some people don't realize this, but public schools was designed by the industry. They were looking they needed workers. So you had to get people trained to do these particular jobs. So the public, it is. So they actually train people to get them prepared to have a job. So what you learn in school not teach you to be successful. It teach you to get prepared to mentally be ready to have a job. That's basically what it does.
Booker T. Washington.
So you understand what I'm getting at, right? Yeah. So once you get to the point, so we should be teaching people about how to manage money, how to own things. If we talk more of that, we got too many people to hand out, waiting for someone to come and give it to them. We should teach people not to wait for somebody to give you something and teach you a way to earn it. So once we do that, most of our problems will go away. So we sit back and think about it. You got 10 people working. They got 10 people. But out of the 10 people, only 2 of them are truly working. But so the other 8 are waiting for those 2 to do all the work. That's kind of where we are right now. Some people don't believe that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you the last time where I went, when I was driving down the road, and you look at a work crew that works for the state, and you'll see exactly what Mr. Gravely just described. You'll see 2 people doing all of the work, and the other 8 people
There you
standing around looking at that
There you
at
go.
those 2 people
There you go.
doing all of the work.
Yes, sir. I'm a true believer of self-employment, and what I believe in that, once you become self-employed, you get to the point you make decisions for you. You don't wait for some. I was a good worker. Put it this way, wherever I worked, I was always a good worker. But in the back of my mind, I always say to myself, I know I can do better than this person. I know more than, what I'm talking about. I know I can do better than this. I worked at Bass Walk for 18 years.
Okay.
And what it did, it bought the house we live in, bought the cars, fed us and all this. But for the last 5 years, I would drive to work every day and say to myself, I know I can do better than this. I know I can. But I was saying to myself, I know I can do better than this. So I'm not saying I was better than everybody, but in my mind, I knew I could do better than that. Just that, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it gave me, again, martial arts. I was doing martial arts at the time, so that gave me the confidence to be willing to leave that paycheck every Friday,
Right.
to do something independently.
Well, I think about when you just said that, you was making money on the side from your
Mm-hmm.
your employer. I had quite a few family members. Matter of fact, that was my first job out of high school. Me and my brother worked at Basketball. Okay. My mom worked there. My mom retired from there. From basketball.
Right.
But growing up, my uncle worked there.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle Kenneth, he worked there. My grandfather worked there. Matter of fact, that was the last job my grandfather had before he passed. He worked at Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there, but I've never been really truly comfortable. And I was thinking about this on my way up here. Comfortable depending on somebody else to take care of me and my family. Because somebody else can always say no.
Yes, indeed.
Somebody else can always make a decision that impacts my family negatively.
Yeah.
So, having the idea and the thought to, okay, I got to double down on doing this. Matter of fact, me and Gabby was talking the other day. The last job that I had, I think the reason they fired me was because I wasn't, what like this? What's the word I'm looking for, Mr. Bradley? They weren't my main concern.
Right.
And the fact that his business wasn't my main concern made me a threat.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
You see where I'm going? Made me a threat to, like, I'm not going to do right by him.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when you don't do right by me?
Mm-hmm.
My family is number one, not yours, but his family was number one.
Yes, sir.
With the numbers of COVID-19 increasing all over the United States, I've decided to do all I can to help those that are most at risk. At the heart of all that's happening with COVID-19, I want to be a proponent of a safe worship experience. Ben Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Every time members enter the sanctuary, it should be a safe and clean worship environment. And so with the proper training and with a budget of less than $500, your church can be sanitized thoroughly 3 times a week with no problems at all. The time is now for us to take action and fight COVID-19.
Yes, sir. Now, don't get me wrong. When I worked at Basketball, I was a good worker there. I had a lot of friends and everything was going well. But I'm gonna say, but I still knew that I could do something else. I was doing my martial arts school part-time. I was working full-time at Basketball and teaching part-time on martial arts class. I'm gonna tell you how I ended up leaving Basketball. At the time, we had a 12-hour shift that we worked on. We worked 3 months, first part of the week, and 3 months later. I switched with a gentleman. I worked weekends all the time so I could teach my class on Monday, Wednesday night. So nobody wanted to work weekends all the time, but I worked weekends all the time just so I could be off class on Monday, Wednesday night when I had my martial arts class. So someone complained and said, look, why you letting Harold switch? You shouldn't do that. So anyway, so the boss said, well, Harold, look, when I can't let you switch anymore. I said, well, find me another job, so I can be off and teach my class. So he waited around. He said, "Look, I can't find it." I said, "Well, I'm gonna quit." I mean, just like that. I mean, I'm gonna quit this shit. I told him. I said, on this day, if I can't find something else because I got my martial arts, I'm gonna quit. And I did. I mean, so picture that now. I got a wife, 2 kids, a house, and a dog at home. But I'm gonna quit to do this part-time martial arts thing. And I did. One of the scariest feelings of my life to do that. And I had quite a few students at that time. I had a really good turnout of students. Within 2 months of the time I left, half my students quit.
Oh man, Lord mercy. Woo.
I'm serious. I could have easily went back to basketball. They would have given my job back. But I would have been like a dog with my tail between my legs going back. And I was determined I wasn't going to do it. I was determined I was not going to do it. So I kept doing my class, and I think I found a part-time, some other job to do for the meantime. But once I didn't go back, within 6 months after that, my class exploded. I had people come from everywhere to take class with me. So I could have went back, my class would have just stayed probably the same, but people started coming from everywhere to take my class. So I knew that I did the right thing. I'd done the right things when I did that.
So within 6 months, so 90 days, everybody looking at you saying you crazy.
Pretty much.
Let's put it on the table. Everybody, your wife, everybody said you crazy. You crazy.
Pretty much.
You better go back over there to that job.
Yeah.
To 6 months when you made it through that storm
Mm-hmm.
to get to the other side and say, "Ooh, this is it right
That's
here. This is where God meant me to be at."
Yes, sir.
Right
That's
here.
what I think anyway. Yes, sir. So, I mean, it's once that happened and I was sold that I wasn't going back, I started thinking, what other ways can I do this martial arts? I mean, I had a portable martial arts business. So I'm just being honest with you. Had this class in Collinsville and one in Stewart, which I take 2 days, teaching 2 days a week at each one of the places. All right. So I still had free time. So I started thinking, what else can I do? I started doing a class at the college. So 2 days, I was teaching class at the college during the day. Okay. Well, what else can I do? Whatever reason, I got to the schools at elementary schools. So, I was a portable martial arts instructor.
Okay.
But, income was coming in great then. And it was really going well. But then my transition came again. All right, this is how the real estate thing came.
Okay.
I said to myself one day, money's going well. We're doing fine, but I'm doing it 6 days a week. It just depends on me. I was a one-man show. What would happen if I couldn't do that? That thought came to my mind. What would happen if I could not teach these classes anymore?
Okay. Let me reel you back in just a
Okay,
little
please
bit.
do.
Okay. So you're there, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're there. So when do you read Rich Dad Poor Dad when you hear him talking about you being the job?
Okay.
And is it in that time
That's
frame?
all in there. All right. So in the meantime, if anybody knows me, I've done, you name it, I've pretty much done it. I've sold anything you can think of. I was a door-to-door salesman. I've done everything you can think of. So once I knew that I was not going back to basketball or work for somebody else, I became a salesman.
Mhm.
And through being in sales, you've got to learn things. So that's why a lot of the reading and the knowledge, and when I'm driving back and forth in my car, that was my education is these tapes. So I was listening to all these tapes during my spare time.
Uh-huh.
That's where the Rich Dad Poor Dad came in, which talking about being self-employed or making money where you don't have to physically be there.
Uh-huh.
When that clicked in my mind, so at the time I had to be everywhere to teach my classes.
Okay.
All right. My question is, how can I make money? I don't have to be there. So my younger brother had bought a couple of rental properties, and he started saying, "Look, maybe you ought to buy you something." And I had a house payment at the time. I said, "Man, I don't know about that. I got all these other things. I don't know if I can do that." But I listened. I'm going back to tapes again. I listened to a tape from the library, and I tell everybody about this. It's not on my book list. Transfer Your Debt into Wealth by a man named John Commuter. I think I said it right. But anyway, I looked it up just to make sure it's still out there. And I got one thing out of that book, out of this tape series. He said it does not make sense to pay 30 years on a house payment. So my wife and I had a house. We had to first bought it. We bought it 30-year mortgage on it. So when I listened to this, he said it doesn't make sense to do that. So I went back and refinanced our house at DuPont Credit Union. Was valid, well, DuPont Credit Union at the time for 15 years.
Okay.
When I listened to that tape, we probably owed 12 years on the house. I paid it off in probably 5. So I doubled up on everything. So all this extra money I saved from my martial arts class, rather than going out buying 50 things, I was going straight to the house payment. So once I paid the house payment off, I could breathe. Then I understood the real estate.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
Okay. Go ahead.
So once I got that house paid off, I went back and got an equity line on the house that we lived in. I tell everybody the same thing. I had $105,000 of equity in a house.
Okay.
I treated that equity line like a checkbook, and I started buying rental properties. I bought my first property I bought was in Greensboro. They called it a condo, but it was basically an apartment, but it was condo. 2-bedroom condo. I think my payment was $24,000. I can tell you how much. It was $24,000 for that condo. I rented it for $550 a month. My payment back every month was $250. So I had like $300 profit off of that first thing. So, man, it's pretty good. I came back here to Martinsville and bought another property. Again, I don't know if I had $24,000 the first 2 that I bought. I bought a duplex. $400 rent on one, $450 on the other. Get my payment like $200. I said, I found my thing. So I was sold after that.
You were sold.
I was sold. But now I've got money coming every month that I don't physically have to be there to work for. So that's how I transitioned from martial arts to real estate, if it makes sense.
So, what year was this? What year was this when you, and how old were you when you bought your first property?
I think I was 48 when I bought my first property. So I'm 65 now. I was 48 when I bought my first. But it was just I was doing my martial arts thing full time, and I was just trying to get a property a year or something like that, I just kind of piddled around with it for a while. But then I asked this question to a lot of people when I talk to them now. I said, if something happened to you and you could not do the thing that you do right now to earn money, how long could you survive? That's my question I ask most people I talk to. No matter what they're doing, how much money they make. I said, if something happened to you right now today, you could not physically do the thing that you do now to earn money, how long could you survive? And I heard it's from 2 weeks to 90 days.
Okay.
That's how I heard, okay? But in the meantime, when I think it was about 5 years after that, I had a major surgery. I got a pig valve in my heart, which most people don't know that. I got a big cut down the middle of my chest, and I have a pig valve in my heart. So I think I had probably 6 properties at the time. So my martial arts school went to 0 because I couldn't teach it. And I still had some of my students running, but it was, just surviving. But the income from those rental properties kept us afloat for that 6 months that I couldn't do anything because of that surgery. So I knew that what I'd been doing all that time had paid off, if that makes sense. So I had money coming that I didn't physically have to be there to earn.
Wow. So you went from 1, so you had 6 then, and at how old were you when you had this?
Well, I tell you what, my daughter told me it was 2010 when I had this pig valve put in my heart.
Okay.
So it's been
12 years.
12 years now. So 2010, my daughter told me. I had to ask somebody. I forget sometimes.
Right.
So I'd been bought house. I think it was about 5 years. My number's pretty close. About 5 years old. From the time I first bought my first one to 2010 was like 5 years. So I had enough property, enough income coming in from those few properties I had that it covered my expenses. But we didn't have a lot of expenses though. My house was paid off. We don't have a new car, nothing like that. It was just basic stuff. But once that happened, I knew that I'd found something that if I worked at it, it would get better, if that makes sense.
So today, how many properties do you have?
I got 27 right now.
27.
I got 27 properties I don't tell a lot of people that. I have 27 properties. I own one's a duplex, so it's 28 people every month come to me and give me income.
Okay.
So then I have 2 more that I manage for someone else. So I got 30 people that I deal with going back to how we influence people, every month that I receive income from.
And you receive that income. And every time I see you, Mr. Gravely, you're the same person.
I try to be anyway.
You know what I'm saying? You know, you because some people, I was listening to TD Jakes last week, and I heard him say this many years ago. I don't want to see how you treat me. I want to see how you treat that server, somebody that you think you don't need.
Yes, sir.
That's going to tell me
That
how
means a
you
lot.
will treat me when I don't do something you don't like.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But I've seen, you know what I'm saying, you're the same.
Well, I try to be. I hope so. Thank you. That's a compliment.
You know what I'm saying? That, you know, that means a lot. You know what I'm saying? But that comes back to your personal development. You know, and I don't think a lot of us realize how important personal development is. Listen to what it says, person,
Yes, sir.
meaning you, personal. That means you take it in and you develop yourself personally.
Yes, sir.
And when you develop yourself personally, you know what? People become attracted to you. Because,
Yes,
you know what I'm
sir.
saying, you become someone that people say, hey man, this guy will help me. This guy knows something. And if he knows something, then maybe he can point me in to the direction of somebody else who can help me. But then at the same time, one of my favorite movies is Pay It Forward.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So once somebody helps you, then pay it forward. You know what I'm saying? Help somebody else to, as the great Zig Ziglar said, help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? What did he say? Help somebody else.
You can have anything you want in life. You help enough other people get what they want in
That's
life.
it. That's it right there. That's what the great Zig Ziglar
Yes, sir.
said. If you help enough other people
Yep.
get what they want out of life,
Then you can have anything you want.
you
in
can
life.
have anything you want out of
That's
life.
what he
See,
said.
like I said, Mr. Gravely, you know what I'm saying? We read some, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when I was driving the truck, you know, majority of the time, you know, we have a lot of time, a lot of dead time, as I would say.
Mhm.
You know, you go somewhere and the load will fall through, so you're going to be sitting somewhere, right? So what I would do was, this was early on when it wasn't, I had the little ebook,
Mhm.
I had that, but I also had a nationwide directory to Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
Borders, and Books and Media.
Very good.
I could always get that truck in the back of a mall to go to Barnes and Noble. So I spent a lot of my time at Barnes and Noble,
Yes, sir.
at Borders, just sitting there reading. And now as I think and I'm getting older, those books, it's like snippets of
Mhm.
those books come back to memory. God made the human brain so masterfully that, you know, if you can get it up in here, you can change the world.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know,
sir.
that's all I can say. Because you know what? The body, the brain doesn't know any different. You know what I'm saying? If you tell it,
Mhm.
it believes it.
Yes, sir.
You know.
No doubt about it.
You know, and I can tell, you know what I'm saying, just by talking to you, Mr. Gravely, and just listening to your stories, how your life transitioned. You know, let's talk about your son.
Okay, great. I enjoy talking about him.
Tell me now your son is in mixed martial arts?
He is. He's a UFC fighter. He's a professional UFC fighter.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I have I have 3 kids myself. I have a son before I got married.
Okay.
Which, you know, you out doing, think you know everything. And then my wife and I have 2 kids together. So I have
Okay.
a daughter. And then Tony is my youngest son. He just turned 30 years old. He's a professional UFC fighter. He lives in Florida right now.
Uh-huh.
But we used to sit around together and we talk about martial arts movies. That's all we did. We'd sit around and watch martial arts movies all the time and UFC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about saying, you know, listen to tapes and stuff like this. Every time my kids got in the car with me, I had a tape playing.
Okay.
Oh, Dad, why do we have to listen to that? They would say that. But now my son Tony, he sends me these same tapes and stuff. He's listening to me. So he's listening to them. He'll hear one and he'll send it to me. He say, have you heard this? Have you seen this? So he's doing the exact same thing that he was complaining about then at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk to him, the mindset, we talk, I can't teach him anything right now. He's well skilled at what he does. But when we speak, we're talking about the mental part of it. So we talk back and forth about the mental things when it comes to fighting. But as far as the physical part, he got it. But he fell in love with it. We used to watch UFC fights. He said at probably 10, 11 years old, I want to do that. He came and said, I want to do that. So I didn't think he would, but that's basically what he's doing right now. Something he wanted to do.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's a lot of times. I used to tell my oldest daughter is mentally being tired is hard. I'd much rather be physically tired than mentally tired.
Right.
Would you?
Yes, sir. No doubt about it.
Because when you're mentally tired, it's like, man, your body don't want to do nothing, but it's something when their brain is,
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to decompress it. What do you do to decompress?
Well, that's a good question. At one time, I enjoyed staying physical. I mean, I was always doing some kind of physical fitness or exercise, something always. But here recently, I'm doing a lot less of that, and so now I'm getting ready to start back. But I'm just doing nothing. I'm one of those people now, just lay around and do nothing. It's because at one time I was always doing something.
Okay.
But as far as something I enjoy doing, I used to talk about houses, how we end about. I used to ride around just during the day, just looking at houses on the weekends. My wife and I, same thing with my kids. Go to church, go get some food, and then we just ride around. I just ride around looking at houses. And so that made me, I guess, looking for the next one to buy or just dream building,
Okay.
Things like that. So I still do that. I still, I'm constantly looking.
So do you still live in your first house?
I do. And I'm glad we do, to be honest with you. And the reason why I say that, and initially at one time, I was like everybody else, we're gonna buy us a big house. And I kept telling my wife that, and we were. And I was intending on doing that. But my kids now are grown, so now it's just me and my wife at home. So we don't need it. So the house we've got now is totally big enough for us right now. But at one time, I guess when I was on the journey of working and, dream building, we wanted a big house wherever. But if I had done that, I think a lot of people do, they go out and buy the big house early. Now they spend all their time and money trying to keep that big house. Now they don't have the money to do the other things they need to do. So that's what I see. Does that make sense?
It makes, it makes perfect sense, Mr. Bradley. Because, you spend all your resources. And now when you get older, you can't do anything.
Exactly.
Well, listen to this, Mr. Bradley. Let's just go there. We're sold a pipe dream about get 65 and live the way you want to live, right?
Yes, sir.
But that's not it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have the biggest house. You don't have to have the biggest cars.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have enough to make it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't dream to just go on a dream vacation, you go on a vacation and still come back on vacation and not worry about paying your bills because you got enough to pay those bills. That's a great thing.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So dream big enough to where, you can still live,
Mm-hmm.
but not be dead at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
I know exactly what you're saying. Sometimes I write things down and I post stuff on Facebook every now and then. And I said, we have two choices. You need to take the 40-year plan or the 5-year plan. We're taught the 40-year plan. That's the plan we're taught.
Explain that.
The 40-year plan, you get out of school, go to school, get a good education, get your job, and you can work for 40 years. So you say from 25 to 65, that's your 40 years, okay? You retire, and guess what? You try to live after that. That's the 40-year plan. That's what we're told. The 5-year plan is, what if you, remember I said want to be financially independent by 30? What if at 25 you say, I'm gonna do everything I can for the next 5 years and earn as much money as I can to get to the point that I don't need money anymore. So that's the 5-year plan is you put all your energy into 5 years of hard work.
Mhm.
And then you get to the point you become financially independent. You can do what you want to do after that. The slow way is the 40-year plan.
Mhm.
Just take your time.
But Mr. Gravely, slow and steady is the way.
That's what they say.
You know, it's, hey, you know,
That's what they say.
that's what they say. Look, you know, just don't do that. Quit dreaming like that. You know what, Mr. Gravely, I'm a big dreamer.
Good.
I'm the type of person you can't tell me I can't do nothing.
There you go.
Sometimes it gets me into trouble. You know, my wife gets upset with me at times, but you can't tell me I can't do anything. You know, we're doing one of my dreams right now.
Yes, sir.
So dreaming is big. I don't think we spend enough time actually dreaming about what it is we would like to do in life.
Right.
You know, Gabby is 15. My oldest is 26. Now, you know, we're working, okay, you're getting older,
Mhm.
you know. You're getting older. If your earning years are now.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Your earning years are now, not when you get 40. Your earning years are now. I think about it. I told you, my nephew Latrell, I think he's taking that 5-year plan to heart.
Very good. Very good.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know, in the past, I would say 6 months, he's written 2 books. Okay.
Very good.
He's bought his first piece of real estate.
Very good.
He's
YouTube channel.
he has his own YouTube channel. But I think about it, Mr. Gravely, when Trell was 16, 17, man, we had an argument. He got mad at me. I don't think he wanted to speak to me no more. You know, he left and went off to college, and then he went off to college and he realized, wait a minute, Uncle might have been right.
There you go.
You know, and he been on his grind. He left school. He was going to JMU,
Mhm.
dropped out, got a sales job, selling pest control.
Very good.
Started selling pest control. Bought his first car, and said, I ain't going back.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? He became this right here.
Mhm.
These books right here are his only friends.
Well, I look forward to meeting him. I'd love to meet
I
him.
mean, man, I wish, like I said, he'll probably be, he was at home every 2 weeks, you know, to check on how things are going with the property, because
Mhm.
they're going. Because remember, I called you, I asked you that day about somebody who can go in and get the stuff out
You did?
and carry it. I gave him that information. He started, you know, doing that. So, you know, that's good to see. You know what I'm saying? All young people aren't, you know, they aren't lost.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
They aren't lost. You know what I'm saying? They think differently than we do.
Mhm.
And that's okay. But, you know, a lot of people our age, we think the way that we think is the only way to think, and that we know everything, in which we don't.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Because they see America through a different lens.
Yes,
You
sir.
know.
I understand what you're saying.
than we do. You know, and so seeing that, but then I run into people like yourself, and you tell me I'll be 48 this year. You know. So you're telling me at 48 you bought your first
property at
property.
48.
At 48.
48. I'm probably
At
48. Yeah.
So, you know, I ain't too old.
No, sir.
You know, I'm not too old to, you know what I'm saying, to do that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, tell someone out there, how do they get there?
Okay. So he's saying, all right,
How do they get to that point to where they can get that first property? What should they do first?
I'm going back to Think and Grow Rich first. tell yourself you are. Get to this point that you have the desire to do it.
Okay.
There's so many people, they say they want to, people come to me all the time and ask me what I do, all the time. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, look, go and buy your first house. I tell them, I don't care how you do it, just buy your first house. I said, you'll learn on that first property. If you never buy that first, you're not going to learn anything. So you have that desire to do it. So once you say, I'm going back to, and I kind of skipped something.
It's okay.
I think I had 3 properties at the time. And the gentleman named Alan Adams, he's passed away right now. This gentleman used to drive a school bus to Axton Elementary School. He did driver's ed too. He looked like Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
White gentleman looked like Kenny Rogers. And I knew he bought properties. He knew I had a couple. So we had lunch one day at Captain Tom's. I think I had 3 properties at the time. We were just having a conversation. He said, just in conversation, he said, if a man got 10 houses here in Martinsville, you can manage them yourself and you can live pretty well. I mean, just casual conversation. I think I had 3 at the time. I said out of my mouth that day, I said, I'm going to get me 10 houses. I told him just like that, I'm going to get 10 houses. So we kept talking, finished, and we were walking out from finished lunch. He said, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. He said, you're going to get 10 and not be able to stop. He knew exactly what he was talking about. He said, once you learn how to do a thing, you know how to do it. And he knew exactly. Once I got 10 houses, my mind was made up. I'm going to buy everything I saw. So once you do, you understand that?
Yeah.
Once you know how to do it, you know it.
Uh-huh.
So I think at 1 year, I probably bought 6 houses in 1 year. Not knowing anything, not having anybody in front of me guide me and tell me what to do, just off what I thought I knew. There's ways to do it now that's a whole lot easier or faster than what I do.
Right.
But that's what I understood.
Okay.
You know. So first thing, just make your mind up. Tell yourself you're going to do it. And once you do that, everything else tends to fall into place. So it's no magic to it. Once you decide that you're going to do that thing, I guarantee you'll find it.
So what you're telling me is this, Mr. Grabner. You know, I always tell people, I'm not the smartest cat you ever gonna come across, but I understand desire.
There you go.
I understand telling yourself that you can do it. You can do something. So you're telling me the main thing is desire?
Yes, it is.
So
what?
all of these books right here, but come.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna hit on the first one. You heard the book called The Secret?
Yes.
All right. A lot of people. Now I didn't read that book. A lot of these on here, I didn't read all the way through the book. I either got the audio or video or something. But The Secret, I bought the cassette. It was CD. Cassette, both of them really of The Secret, and it kept talking about the words we use. One of the things they talk about is a lot of people say, "I'm going to get out of debt." They might say that, but the biggest dominant word in it is debt. You're not going to get out, you're going to get more of it. You shouldn't say, I'm going to get out of debt. You say, I'm going to get wealthy. I'm going to be financially independent. I'm going to be, you say it in a positive way rather than a negative way.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I got out of that book is talk about what you want and not what you don't want. Most people you talk to them, they're going to tell you all the things they don't want.
They don't want it.
All right?
But not what they want.
Exactly. Talk about what you want. So if you talk about what you want more than, so that book, you get your speaking right. And again, my mind's made up. I'm talking the right way. And guess what? People show up with whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I believe that.
When they took us from our homeland, from Africa, they took our language.
Yes, sir.
Language is so important that once you understand language and linguistics and how the way you say things and how you tell yourself things, you've overcome a hurdle that most people never overcome.
Yes, sir.
Most people don't overcome their own thinking, their own way that they think. Because we've been programmed to think stinky. To have stinking thinking.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm the type of person, if you get to talking that stinky stuff around me, you just notice I'm not around.
Yes, sir.
And that's just the type of person, because I can choose where I want to be and who that I want to be around.
Yes, sir.
And having the right mindset is the key,
Mhm.
I believe, to us getting there.
Yes, sir.
Because everybody should have a there.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying? God told Moses, leave and I'll tell you when you what? Get there.
Mhm.
It's a place called there. But you have to want to go there.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, and you seem to me, Mr. Gramley, 27 is nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's at least 25 more to 30 more in.
Got my name on it.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? They got your name on.
Got
Because
my
see, I
name on
can see that in you. You know what I'm saying? You still young.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? You're still a young man, Mr. Gramley. You know, you're only as old as you think you are.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a young man out there. There's a young lady out there that sees you and that's going to hear you on today, and they're going to be inspired.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, I know that what we're doing here is going to change somebody's life.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, and that's why I want to make sure that we got you on here documented today to say greatness is here. We can do great things if we believe.
Yes, sir.
And I think you have a belief system, Mr. Gravely, that tells you that you can do whatever it is you want to do. Am I correct in that?
I appreciate that. I believe it. Thank you very much.
Now we're about to end.
Okay.
Is your son, does he have any events coming up?
Yes, sir. I'm glad you brought it up again. I apologize. He has another match scheduled for June the 5th. I
Okay.
take back June 4th.
Okay.
It's going to be in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And my wife and I already, we know we're going. But it's June 4th in Las Vegas. His last match he had was in California. We didn't get a chance to attend it, but with the COVID thing. But
Okay.
now everything's loosened up again. So we'll be in Las Vegas on June 4th.
Okay. Now is it gonna be open to the public? Is anywhere people can go to
Well, a lot
try
of
to
these
get
fights.
tickets?
Well, you can. I
Or
think
just follow? Does he have an Instagram handle where people can follow him? Or
Tony Gravely 135. I think he's a lot of people don't follow him on Facebook, but
okay,
I think his Instagram. I think it's Tony Gravely, and Twitter 135.
okay,
So if you look that up, you probably find him. But
okay,
anyway, he fights in 135 weight class. Now we talk about this a lot too. He's chosen this as a profession. It's a tough way to make a living, but he's smart. He just bought his. He lives in, like I say, moved to Florida. It'll be 2 years in June. So he and his wife just bought a condo in Florida that they own. So I think just closed on it last month. So his plan is, he say, maybe I'm not gonna stay in Florida forever. I'm gonna keep this property and rent it out. So he's got that mindset too.
okay,
My daughter just bought her own property, own house in October of last year. So
okay,
they're listening, you know,
Okay.
they're buying own property. They both say they want to be in real estate just like I am. They will. I know they will. They got plenty of time to do it. But you know, have desire. I can't. If you go about that desire, we all have a desire to do something, but sometimes we let other people take it away from us or stop us.
Right.
You know? As a book, I don't think it's on my book list. What do you say when you talk to yourself? I think it's the name of it.
okay,
I don't think it's on my list, but that's a question. What do you say when you talk to yourself? A lot of times people are saying negative to themselves. They beat themselves up.
right,
When we learn to talk to ourselves the right way, to tell ourselves the positive parts, it makes things a whole lot easier and better.
yes, yes.
So I talk to myself all the time. I say, who else better for me to talk to than me? So that's what we should feel. So
right.
So say good things to yourself. And I try to do it I get up whistling, man. I whistle all the time. My wife, my kids, always go, whistling. People are walking in the street, I'm whistling. They wonder why. I tell them I feel like I won the lottery. That's how I feel, you know. So
tell me where else can a young man from Leatherwood, the big town of Leatherwood, you know, do a half a semester in college at 18,
yeah.
and at 65 have 27 properties.
Yeah.
It doesn't say who determines where you're going but you.
Nobody. We don't perfectly control that. My parents, I always think back to things that my parents did or didn't do one thing my parents didn't do, they didn't beat us down and whatever issues they had and then try to push them on us.
Okay.
That makes sense. So
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
but I watched things that they did. So they worked all their life. They bought one house to live in, and they paid on for 30 years, just like everybody else did. But they were happy with that. When they retired, at the time, the place we worked had retirement plans.
Mhm.
They don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So all these things that I saw them do, I either want to do what they did or do something totally different. So I decided to do something different. I said, for everybody might buy one house, I said, what if I had two? Or what if you had three? Or what if, I'm talking about?
Mhm.
So think about how much further ahead you would be if you had those one or two or three more.
Right.
So just seeing them work 30 years, paying house for 30 years, still own it, still have it. My mother still lives in it. My mother's 91 years old too, so.
Wow.
But I knew there was another way is what I'm getting at. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So, and I took a different path, so.
Well, I mean, that different path is turned out to be an awesome path.
Well, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? That path is going to inspire someone, because we've documented this. we've documented this, and we're going to put it out for the world to hear. How do we get there? Podcast is bigger than me.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than Martinsville and Henry County. I told last time we was on the podcast, I told that Pastor Jeff and his wife, Trevina from the Top Church in Rocky Mountain, I said, we're believing to have Bubba Wallace sitting over there.
Very good.
You know what I'm saying? To talk to him.
I believe it.
You know what I'm saying? We're believing these things, and we're putting them out there. And so somebody out there who's listening to this podcast is going to tell him that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to say, hey, let's make that happen. Because those are the beliefs that I have. You know what I'm saying? That anything is possible.
Yes, sir.
To him that believe it. You're a proof of that. You're a proof of that, Mr. Gravely. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I would ask you if you wanted to say it, but you ain't got to do openings.
I don't. I really don't.
Because I called you last week.
Don't have a thing.
I called Mr. Gravely last week. I said, Mr. Gravely, I think I might know somebody who might need somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? That he doesn't have any. You know what that tells me, Mr. Gravely? You know what that tells me? That you're not a slumlord.
Well, I try not to be. I do the best. I try to. I'll be honest with you. And I say, I'm glad you said that. I don't want to have a property that I own that I wouldn't live in, that I'm trying to put somebody else in, if that makes sense. And I think everything I've got, if it came down to it, I live in it.
Right.
So, but I've got some really good tenants with me. This COVID thing in the last couple of years has been difficult. It's been different. So you had to learn to count on the fly on a lot of these things. But overall, I've got some good tenants with me, and I'm grateful for every one of them. Matter of fact, 2 people who rent from me, and I told them when they moved in, I said, I hope you end up buying your own house. So 2 people just last year bought their own house.
Mm-hmm.
They rented from me for a number of years, and then they have their own property. I'm happy for them. So anybody who rents from me, I'll tell them the same thing. I'll do everything I can to help you get your own property.
Well, see, that's a great thing, Mr. Gravely. I was talking to someone the other day, and because there's a shortage of properties, there are a lot of people out there that are really gouging.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Gouging their tenants because they know that they can bump up the rents.
That's happening a lot. It's going on a lot right now. It really is.
You know what I'm saying? And and everybody can't afford that. Bump. I know what you can get, but sometimes when you being greedy, you can get the green thing.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's good to know, Mr. Gravely, that there's somebody out there doing it here in Martinsville, Henry County. And I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me and as I call Gabby, I call her my princess. My producer. She works really hard. I'm a little hard on her at times. My wife tells me I'm a little too hard on her, but I'm only expecting
Big things out of
big things out of her. If I don't push her and I don't drive her, then you know what I'm saying, there's gonna be a time where, she'll think it's gonna be easy. And I don't ever want her to think that anything in this life is gonna be easy. But knowing that you have somebody behind you pushing you and encouraging you, you wanna say hello to your wife?
Well, I told my wife I was coming up today, so I'm sure my wife's name is Yolanda Gail Bradley.
Okay.
That's her name, but she goes by Gail.
Okay.
But now I'm sure she's going to see it and she's going to laugh at me. When she sees it, she's going to tell me all the things I did wrong.
Of course. I mean, I would expect it, normally, like I said, normally my beautiful wife is my co-host. She's probably just getting off of work right now. She's my biggest encouragement. She always pushes me. She's watching to make sure that you stop doing that, quit doing that,
I
quit doing
understand.
that, which I need that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She's my helpmate. She's my best friend. And I'm just so thankful.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to ask everyone out there, please go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. You hit that subscribe button, we can get our numbers up and we can do some greater things out in the world. And again, Mr. Gravett, I thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
with us. This has been great. I've learned something. And guess what? There's going to be a lot more people that's going to learn more just by listening to some of the things that Mr. Gravett talked about. And again, his book list, we'll try to put this in our show notes. So if anybody who wants to read these books, please, you can download it from our show notes. Thank you all for joining us. This is Kerry with How Do We Get There podcast. And this is Mr. Harold Gravett. Thank you for joining
Thanks, sir.
us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.